Just ahead on CTV News.
Tax day is finally here. We'll have all the details on how to file an extension coming up on CTV News.
A hearing for the Maryland man that was picked up by ICE agents and then deported to an El Salvadorian prison gets underway today. I'm Katara Jones. I'll have all those details coming up on CTV News.
Plus, the County Council striving to create a data center task force. Those stories and more on CTV News, starting now.
Good evening. This is CTV News for April 15th. I'm Michaela Newton. Thanks so much for joining us. Well, according to the IRS, most people will file their taxes this year online, which they also say is the most efficient process. But some county residents still insist on filing in person. CTV's Bryce Parker is in Largo with more.
So, Michaela, tax day is finally here, and increased foot traffic is expected at post offices across the country, including this one on Apollo Drive. Last-minute filers and those applying for extensions are expected to fly on and off of the property all day with intentions of making it before doors close at 5 o'clock.
Filing taxes are really like investing in your country, like you're investing in a stock. And the benefits that you get from it is the services that are provided by the federal government.
Filing taxes is required by law as they provide funding for public goods such as transportation and social benefits. The IRS does understand if you may need some extra time to file. For example, if you were a victim of a natural disaster such as hurricane, tornado, or flooding, an automatic extension is granted through May 1st. Additionally, you can also claim a casualty loss tax deduction to help you further recover from a natural disaster. For those of you who are filing extensions for other reasons, you need to make sure that you file Form 4868 by today. This will ensure that your new deadline will be moved to October 15th.
So some information for those who plan on filing an extension today. Your extension is just for filing, not for paying any taxes that you might owe to Maryland in this tax season. That deadline still stands as today to make sure that you do not accrue any late fees. In Largo, I'm Bryce Parker, CTV News.
All right, Bryce, thanks so much. The IRS expects nearly 140 million Marylanders to file taxes this year. And lawyers for the Trump administration will face a federal judge this afternoon. This all stems from a case where a Maryland man and father of three has mistakenly been deported to El Salvador. CTV's Katara Jones is in the studio with the latest.
The fight to get Kilmar Abrego Garcia, the Prince George's County man who was wrongfully deported to an El Salvadorian prison back to the United States, continues in a federal court in Greenbelt today. This is a follow-up hearing after U.S. District Judge Paula Zenas ordered the Trump administration last week to give her updates on where Garcia is. Lawyers with the Justice Department will also have to provide the judge with the steps the administration has taken and will need to take to facilitate Garcia's return home. Now, just yesterday, President Donald Trump met with El Salvador's President Nayib Bukele in the Oval Office. Bukele says he doesn't have the power to return Garcia back to the U.S. In the meeting with Trump, Bukele even called Garcia a terrorist. There is no evidence that backs up that claim. Now, Senator Chris Van Hollen says he wants to meet with President Bukele while he's still in the U.S. to discuss the release of Garcia. If he can't, Van Hollen says he will go to El Salvador later this week.
I believe that the president of El Salvador will reconsider when he understands the full story of this illegal detention. I don't think he wants to essentially be the president who's kidnapped a United States citizen. It was the fault of the Trump administration for sending him there illegally. But he shouldn't spend one extra day in a notorious prison in El Salvador when the president of El Salvador can let him go.
It is astonishing that the Trump administration continues to pretend like they can't have this man brought back. President Trump could direct him to bring him back. the Attorney General can direct him to bring him back. Instead, it looks like they're trying to force a constitutional crisis and force the Supreme Court to order it directly.
CTV News will continue to provide you updates to this developing story. Back to you, Michaela, at the anchor desk.
Katira, thanks so much. Meanwhile, hundreds of immigrants have been deported from the U.S. to a brutal prison in El Salvador since President Trump took office. But now experts are saying the U.S. paying El Salvador for those services could be a human rights violation. The U.S. State Department has paid $6 million to the country to use its prison, also known as SACOT. But a federal law prohibits the state's financial support of, quote, units of foreign security forces that face credible allegations of gross human rights violations. The Trump administration plans to keep using the mega prisons as deportations continue, and President Trump even said he was open to sending American citizens to SACOT. Well, Prince George's County Council is considering legislation that could lead to the creation of data centers in the county. The bill would create a task force to study the risks and benefits of bringing data centers to Prince George's. Currently, Northern Virginia is home to nearly 600 data centers. Combined, nearly 70% of the world's internet traffic flows through those centers. The task force would bring together residents, business leaders, community groups, and energy companies to plan the best path forward.
Several of us on the council have been concerned about data centers. We know on the one hand that we need them, but on the other hand, we want to make sure it's done responsibly. So we thought it would be best to kind of start out with information from everybody in the community, from everybody who's impacted, including, the energy providers, so that we could get a full picture of where they should go and how we should go about it. I think.
And Ivy says the county is still several years from seeing any data centers, but establishing a task force now will position Prince George's in a good spot. And County Council is also considering legislation aimed at helping residents cope with high energy prices. CR 17 is non-binding, but it would request the Public Service Commission to impose a moratorium on the utility prices for the indefinite future. Supporters say rising utility rates are unsustainable for many residents who are forced to decide between basic necessities and maintaining power in their home.
I think a lot of council members wanted to put a resolution out there to really have the conversation with our utilities about the rising prices for Prince Georgean residents. Between what's going on with the federal government and inflation, high utility bills are not just affecting Prince George's County but the entire state, and this resolution is to have that conversation with our utility companies.
And that resolution passed unanimously. Well, a group of lawyers is urging Governor Wes Moore to veto legislation that reduces the financial awards to victims of institutional abuse. Moore has rejected the effort, and the call comes as lawyers are rushing to get cases filed under current law with higher caps before the governor signs the legislation as is expected. House Bill 1378, which passed last week, reduces the financial damages awarded to victims of sex abuse. The Moore administration says the bill still allows survivors to seek justice while preserving the long-term fiscal stability of the state. The measure passed in the House and Senate with veto-proof majorities. And you're watching CTV News. I'm Michaela Newton. Still to come, a new report suggests that Maryland students are struggling. After the break, find out what area needs improvement and how long it could take to reverse. That story and more after the break.
My name is Antonia Barros, and I'm a film and television editor, and I got my start as an intern at CTV. Growing up in Prince George's County, Hollywood seemed so out of reach for me. I wouldn't have believed in the possibility of this career before I started working at CTV. CTV has been and continues to be an invaluable resource for our community to gain entry into news, education, and entertainment programming. This year's county budget must include funding for CTV.
Mom, did you really need to buy 2 can openers for our emergency kit?
I can't help it. They're 2 for 1. What's this?
We need to keep our family communication plan safe in case of an emergency.
Thanks, Tita.
Well, good thing we kept all the lights we used for Diwali.
I've got the battery pack.
Keep my phone powered so we don't miss any alerts.
What about game night?
Sounds good.
Oh, we have to get to Mom and Dad's and get them somewhere safe. I've got the evacuation route loaded on my phone.
I've got an updated list of Dad's meds.
And I've got just what we need to get them to take this seriously.
If that doesn't convince them that we thought this through, I don't know what would.
Start a conversation with your family and plan together for emergencies.
Police need your help looking for a suspect involved in a Riverdale homicide last Friday morning. Officers responded to reports of an unresponsive person at the 6600 block of Riverdale Road. Once on the scene, they found 58-year-old Adeyemi Martin of New Carrollton suffering from gunshot wounds inside of a stairwell. He was pronounced dead on the scene. A $25,000 reward is being offered for information leading to an arrest or indictment in this case. Meanwhile, 2 adults and a child displaced after a brutal house fire in Camp Springs over the weekend. Firefighters arrived at the 7800 block of Jaywick Avenue shortly after 6 p.m. on Saturday. The 2-story single-family home had flames bursting through the garage roof. Investigators are still working to determine the cause of the fire. At this time, the Red Cross is assisting the family. And a new report says most Maryland students still aren't reading at grade level. Maryland Reads found that 67% of 4th and 8th graders aren't proficient in reading. And while there's been a tiny improvement since 2022, progress is slow. The group says education spending is up, but it's not translating to better reading skills. One possible culprit, technology in the classroom. At this rate, it could take more than 60 years for Maryland to hit 95% reading proficiency. Maryland Reads is calling it a comeback moment and says the time to act is now. And a county school nurse praises the benefits of the school district's telehealth services for students. The Prince George's school system has partnered up with Hazel Health, which provides both physical and mental telehealth services, all for free. Egypt Middleton, the school nurse at Kettering Middle School, says her students often utilizes the service. When a student comes into her office, she will connect the child with a Hazel Health provider using an iPad. The provider will do an evaluation and then recommend medication for the student.
Do have a stock of medication that I keep that belongs to the service. And the good thing about that is that the medicating the child in school for minor things, we're able to keep the kids in the school longer, help them feel better, increase their seat time, increase them being able to not miss school so that they can learn and not miss anything.
The school district's partnership with Hazel Health has been going on since October of 2022. And La Nina is officially over. Forecasters say the cooler Pacific waters that defined this past winter's La Nina have faded, and now we're in what's called INSO-neutral conditions. That means neither La Nina nor El Nino is steering the weather right now. So what does that mean for us here in Maryland? Well, it makes seasonal forecasts a little trickier and weather patterns less predictable. Looking ahead, neutral conditions are expected to stick around through the summer, which could mean a less predictable hurricane season as well. And a tech giant could be forced to part with its biggest social media assets as Meta faces a historic antitrust trial. Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg took the stand this week as the Federal Trade Commission tries to prove that the company's ownership of Instagram and WhatsApp makes it a monopoly. Meta bought the two apps when they were still startups, and the FTC is claiming Meta acquired them because they were a threat to the company's dominance. Meta's attorneys call the lawsuit misguided and say the company still has plenty of competition. This is the first test of the Trump administration's ability to challenge big tech. The lawsuit was originally filed in his first term. And still to come on CTV News, Dr. Stephanie Hack is in the studio to discuss Black Maternal Health Week. Hear how she's helping women have safer pregnancies and what expecting mothers need to know. We'll be right back.
Most hiring algorithms would scream me out.
Some bosses couldn't see me as a leader.
I've run this place for 20 years,
but I still need to prove that I'm more than what you see on paper.
I've been running code as long as I've been able to reach a keyboard.
This is what I do. It's second nature for me, coordinating 100 details at once.
It's the way my mind works. I have a very mechanical brain.
I sold them on my skills.
You gotta be so good they can't ignore you.
My magic is
analytics and empathy. That's how I'm getting clients. You have to have the confidence in yourself to show up and defy the odds.
I am more than who I am on paper.
I never got a college degree. And today, I'm the CEO of my own company. People want to tell me I'm one in a million, when actually I'm one of millions. Stars are all around us. It's time for them to shine.
There are a lot of temptations facing young people today, like electronic cigarettes and skateboarding. Each vape pod can contain the same amount of nicotine as a pack of cigarettes. This can lead today's youth to a lifelong addiction and severe lung damage. Recall and consider the facts before making a poor decision.
The health class film guy isn't the best person to talk to your kid about vaping.
Got a few minutes?
You are. Start the conversation with your child about vaping today.
Part-time job, full-time hustle, all-time Shiro to all of us. You nurture, we listen. You teach, we thrive. You lift our spirits, but we've got to lay down the truth. It's time for you, our Shiro, to stretch for the stars. A free online chat can give you the personalized tips you need to start boosting your retirement savings today. Start saving more for retirement so you can feel prepared and live your life to the fullest. Visit aceyourretirement.org.
Welcome back. Black Maternal Health Week is celebrated annually from April 11th to the 17th. The week aims to raise awareness and address the disparities in maternal health that many Black women face during a time that should be stress-free. And joining us in the studio today to discuss some of those disparities is OBGYN and host of the Lady Parts Doctor podcast, Dr. Stephanie Hack. Dr. Hack, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So when it comes to Black maternal health, and as a physician and educator, what do you think are the most important conversations that we should be having right now for pregnant women and women that want to get pregnant?
Oh, we're in the moment of a call to action. We've been focused on the injustices, the inequalities, the disparities, and now is a really critical time where we need to be advocating for ourselves, advocating for the members of our community, and taking action. Mm-hmm.
And why do you think that Black women are dying at a higher rate than other races?
Oh, there are so many reasons. But one of the primary reasons is the systemic racism. You know, we talk about Black maternal health, and when we talk about the disparities, you know, Black women are 3 to 4 times more likely to die of pregnancy-related causes than their white counterparts. It's not because they're Black. It's because of the perception of what their Blackness is by the people who are caring for them, by the systems that they are within. And that's going to affect the type of care they receive. That's going to affect their access to care. That's going to affect when they speak, how do we believe them when they tell us that something's wrong? And I'd say that is the number one. It is the racism in this system and the institutions that affects us.
And I was actually going to ask you a question about that because I hear a lot of times, you know, when Black women go into the doctor and something may be wrong, they're either afraid to speak up or they're not being heard or listened to. Do you see that happening more often, or what is your experience with that?
Well, I hear when people are in conversation with me as a health and wellness consultant, that is the most common thing I hear is they weren't listening to me. I didn't feel, and you know, that is not unique to Black women. That is women in general, but especially in Black women. And so part of the work that I do is helping to empower women, helping to educate women so that they feel empowered when they speak up for themselves, that they have the knowledge to say, hey, this doesn't seem right, or hey, I think I need a second opinion on this. And also that they have the knowledge to bring in another advocate, because sometimes you might not feel comfortable using your own voice, but you have someone with you who can also use your voice for you.
And what do some of those advocates look like? Are they doulas? Are they someone else in the medical field?
They can be. You know, you really need a multidisciplinary team, be it your OBGYN, your midwife, your doula, your family members. All of these people can be an advocate for you.
Gotcha. And how does your platform contribute to improving Black maternal health outcomes?
Sure. So my platform was created to focus on that critical gap in education. I start with providing education and information. I start there. And then, you know, it's unique because I am not just an OBGYN, but I'm also a Black woman who seeks the same type of care. And I have kind of an understanding to be able to translate, like, hey, this is how you're feeling as a patient. And then this is what your healthcare provider is dealing with or thinking, to just kind of help guide through the process. And that's a big part of what I do.
Absolutely. Talk to me a little bit about some of the things that you recommend for Black women during their pregnancy as well as postpartum.
Sure. So one of the first things I would say is get educated about, even before getting pregnant, about the preconception, about things to expect during your pregnancy and things to expect during postpartum. Build your team of experts, of people whose voices you trust. And that includes your family member too. Like, you get educated, but also educate your family, because sometimes, especially for pregnant women and when they're postpartum, they might not be noticing the changes they're experiencing. But somebody in the family will say, for example, with like mental health conditions, somebody who's been educated with them through the process can say, I'm noticing some of those signs and some of those symptoms. So get educated, make sure that people that you trust, your family, your partner or friend, are educated with you. I'd say start there and really build yourself a team, and don't be afraid to ask questions.
Absolutely. What does this year's theme mean to you personally and professionally? It's a very long title, but
Sure.
What does it mean to you?
Sure. So this year's theme is Healing Legacies, Strengthening Black Maternal Health Through Collective Action and Advocacy. And Healing Legacies, to me, means that our legacy isn't just about struggle. You know, I think often we're speaking about the struggle. We're speaking about how Black women are having to overcome these statistics, but we are also healing, and we are building a community. We are, you know, I went to an event over the weekend where I moderated a panel for Black maternal health, and there were so many Black women-led community organizations and resources. We are acting, we are advocating for one another, and, you know, that's what it means to me, like really building this community around Black women and Black maternal health.
Dr. Hack, some very important tips. Thank you so much for joining us today.
You're welcome, Michaela.
And to learn more about Dr. Hack and find resources to transform your health, visit ladypartsdoctor.com. And still to come, Simon Buggs has our Tuesday sports page.
Fans, I've got a great sports page in store for you today, as I have some softball highlights for you, as well as a recap of the WNBA draft. Stay tuned.
Hi, my name is DeAndre Vidal, and I'm a two-time Emmy-winning assistant editor and a former CTV intern. CTV is perfectly positioned to empower Prince Georgians to be the leaders in local news and entertainment for Prince George's County and beyond. The county budget for the future needs to include CTV, because CTV is an essential community resource for the future.
All right, everyone, you know what time it is. Let's get right into it. We begin with some high school softball highlights. The Parkdale Lady Panthers traveled to Upper Marlboro yesterday afternoon to try and come away with a win against Wise. In the first inning, the Lady Pumas played some good defense to start, as after Kesey Flores hesitated after hitting the ball, it gave Wise's infield enough time to throw the ball to first, giving Parkdale an out. But soon after, Parkdale got their first run of the matchup after Wise's pitcher threw the ball outside of the strike zone, allowing Breeza Lopez to bring it home. And then Parkdale went up 2-0 on the Lady Pumas after this nice hit from Michaela Anderson, resulting in an RBI. Moving on to later in the inning, Wise' offense took the field and got their first run of the afternoon after this bad pitch from Parkdale. And number 5 for the team wasted no time getting to home plate. And after another really bad pitch from Parkdale, Wise got another run to tie the game at 2-all. And Parkdale's problems on defense continued, and because of this, Wise was really able to run up the score. And the Lady Pumas went into the second inning up 12-3 on Parkdale. And over the next 2 innings, Parkdale continuing to pitch bad, and hits like this one from Wise that turned into an RBI helped the Lady Pumas score over 20 runs. Definitely not the best showing for the Lady Panthers. The team will face off next against Flowers on Friday, while Wise will return to action against Eleanor Roosevelt on April 22nd. Moving on to some WNBA news, the draft was last night, and the Washington Mystics made some very solid moves. The team selected not 1, not 2, but 3 players in the first round of the draft in Sonia Citron, Kiki Arafin, and Georgia Amor with the 3rd, 4th, and 6th picks. The trio spoke later on and are not only excited to be playing in Washington, but with one another as well.
I'm really, really excited. I think it's an amazing opportunity. It's somewhere where I can really try and make an impact and learn from the amazing players that are already there. So just really, really excited to get to work, to learn from the vets there, to play alongside the rookies that you just mentioned. Yeah, just very, very excited to get to work.
I truly have no words. My heart is still beating super fast. I told myself I wasn't going to get emotional, that I was going to be a big girl, but once your name is called, truly, everything that you've worked hard for, it just flashes through your mind. So I feel, one, super blessed and grateful that the Mystics chose me. I'm super excited to play with Sonia and with Georgia. They're great girls. I've been competing against them, so I'm excited to be teammates now.
I've always said, playing against Sonia for the past 4 years when she was at Notre Dame and I was at Tech, that I wanted to play with her one day. Now, I didn't think it was going to be in a situation like this. I've told her that. I'm pretty sure I told her mom that. So I'm super excited to, be with her and through this. And Kiki, you guys just saw her. I love Kiki, her personality and her demeanor, but when she gets on court, it's raps. And I think I've had good experience with the both of them, playing against them, but even going to camps. I went to camps with Kiki.
Meantime, a former Terp was able to live out her WNBA dreams as well, as guard Cheyenne Sellers was selected 17th overall by the Golden State Valkyrie. Sellers had a great final season in College Park, averaging 14 points, 4 boards, and 4 assists on her way to being named All Big Ten First Team for the 3rd straight season. And the Ohio native is happy to be a part of the Valkyrie family.
I'm super excited to be part of the new team. I know we're going to be ready to compete. We're going to be ready to win. I'm super excited to get to play with Chloe Bibby again. I played with Kate Martin at the Kelsey Plum camp. So, I'm very familiar with some of my teammates, and, I'm just super excited.
The future's definitely bright in Washington, and good luck, Cheyenne and Golden State. And that is your Tuesday sports page. Simon Bucks, CTV Sports.
Thanks, Simon. Let's get a look at our 3-day weather forecast. Tonight, we're under a wind advisory. Wind speeds are likely to reach 30 miles per hour. Tomorrow, we'll have a high of 58, and wind speeds are expected to reach 36 miles per hour. Thursday will be sunny with a high of 64. Friday will be mostly sunny with a high of 72 and a low of 60. And for our community calendar, tomorrow the Oxon Hill Branch Library is hosting a reentry resources and career fair. Job seekers are invited to meet potential employers and utilize resources to enhance skills and marketability. This event will take place tomorrow from noon to 4 p.m., but for more information, contact 240-455-5451. And that wraps up CTV News for now. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you again tomorrow. Have a good night.